Figure out how to make the most out of things when it seems like a giant implosion has just like really stolen your sanity, and it really hasn't. You just have to find the tools to develop resilience, and then resilience take two, resilience part three. You know what I mean? Like chapter 20, like you're building on it because there's always something new. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Adapted Life Podcast with me, Julie Hasselberger. I'm happy to be back. It is March 10th, Friday, and February was crazy. So, yeah, where did it go? It just flew by. So I didn't upload in February, and there's some really good reasons for that. So in the life that I have, it can be a little bit crazy. Sometimes you got to just take a breath. Anyways, this episode today is going to be called Tilted, Sudden Change and Figuring It Out. So it's kind of being dedicated to this thing sometimes people call the sandwich generation. And it can take on a whole new meaning when you're already a caregiver of a disabled child or loved one. So yeah, again, greetings world, and there's just a lot of things happening, and I'm going to discuss a little bit just to kind of highlight the story here and what's going on in our life here with Daniel. So again, I apologize for missing a February upload. It is a short month, February, but we have been managing a lot of issues that span above and beyond what our normal life usually entails. So my son Daniel, as you know, and as I've talked about, he is 25 years old. So my husband and I are both 56, and our other children are in their late 20s, early 20s. So my dad's 80. My mom passed away about a year ago. So we don't have to worry about mom, but my husband's in-laws are in their 80s, and my mother-in-law has Alzheimer's, and we're lovingly helping her. And his dad is 86. So there's, aging issues, and with love and compassion, it can be a lot. So, yeah, the Alzheimer's thing is really difficult. It's really, really difficult. So we have known all along that more expansive levels of care would be eventually needed. And we've known that it would be our responsibility because my husband only has himself, and his one brother passed away a couple of years ago, 3 years ago. So what happens, my caregiver friends? What happens to us? To us who are already entrenched in an overflowing life of responsibility and stress, and our own homes are like a medical facility, right? So then you get this phone call, and all of a sudden somebody has to rush out, and somebody else needs you and is in the hospital, and you're just like, well, who's gonna do this and that and it is just a lot. So get the picture. It's been that's pretty much the end of my January all the way through now. So most people my age, in my circumstance, we got married in our late 20s, had kids early 30s. We were both college graduates. I had my master's degree. And, most people are of my age that I'm friends with are coming into a new season of their lives. So if we have kids, chances are kids are now like mine, grown or off in college, starting their own lives or getting married or have jobs or careers. And usually it's like they're adults now. So you're sort of entering into either maybe retiring or just, spending more time on things that you enjoy or your own career. But my son is like having a 25-year-old baby. He is 100% dependent on us all the time. So we don't have that same season of our lives. And it requires care on every single level, every day, all the time. So as you're watching in-laws or family members and needing help, and they have failing health, and they don't want to change their lives. They want to stay in their homes, and you're trying to give them the life that they want for their happiness, but it's really stressful because you're then worrying about your home and their home, and it's just a lot of pressure. But we are really all that they have, and it's just this the reality, right? This is it. This is the fact. So anyways, we are trying to ride this very traumatic period of transition and watching our loved ones declining. And when it's happening to more than one at the same time, it's really, really stressful. And you want them to have a better life than that. So you're like, oh, what are we going to do, right? So it just goes without saying that being the caregiver for your fragile loved one, it takes a lot of mental and emotional strength. It's kind of hard to believe that you could possibly have any more to give, right? So it's just crazy, right? And in this particular situation, I handle most of what happens here, and then my husband handles what happens over there. And for him, it's just a lot. And it's been heartbreaking to see him really working as hard as he is to try to make everything come together. So just because, though, that we are well practiced at managing our complex and medical and administrative everything for our own son, it doesn't make us experts in all things support and care, especially not when you're dealing with something like Alzheimer's, which we have no experience with, and all the issues that senior citizens face as they're aging. So, maybe we're advanced in the area of suggesting that future measures be put in place to prevent traumatic accidents and to keep things safe and prevent illnesses and to do risk management. And that's because of the experience we've had for 25 years dealing with this in our own house. But we can't change other people and how they think and what they want. So that's not in our control. So everyone's on their own journey, in terms of what they want. And you can't change how other people think and feel. And, you're not their expert. Anyways, but, sometimes I have to stop myself and think, when this new crisis started to emerge, like, Julie, remember when you first found out that Daniel had a permanent disability, and the enormity of that felt way beyond my ability to manage, right? Oh my goodness. How am I going to do this? It's huge. I can't do this. It's too big. It's too big. I'm never going to be able to make space for this in my brain. But I did, and we did, and we learned. And somehow here we are, testimony, right? So we've been dealing with quite a lot of all of this, and moving on here. So I just want to say a little that some people are caring for seniors, right? They're caring for them in their homes. They're bringing caregivers in to care for them in their homes. These are the ones that can't take care of themselves any longer because of whatever the reason. Some people can't afford to go into more advanced living situations like assisted living facilities. And some people are, kind of waiting because they don't want to run out of money, or whatever their circumstances are. So the thing about assisted living is it really is a wonderful option for some people to take away that stress and that fear of being alone, managing your own home, and being, not in the safest situation and isolated from the world. So it can bring in some peace and some socializing and take the stress away of not having help when you need it and all of those things. But it's also scary because it's change, and change is very hard for some folks, especially a lot of older folks. So I look at our parents, my own father and my in-laws, and the other thing is it brings one of the blessings is that it really brings to my forefront of my brain the fact that it's really important to do some planning for my own future, for the sake of my adult children. So it really highlights that, so here's that preventive future risk management thing. Like, it's on the list, right? It's on the It's on the checklist of things to do, right? Figure out how we're going to get things set up for down the road. But we have so much love and so much support. But somehow that helps to, just grease that track and figure out how to make the whole sandwich come together, right? Lately, I have to say, though, I have been feeling very squished, and it's been a little bit difficult on my health. I keep saying I feel squished like I'm in a panini press, right? And I ended up with some problems with like a sinus infection and some hives, and I have fibromyalgia, and having hives and pain and all these things that was my, like, most of my February. It was really awful. So I had to slow down and kind of just one day at a time. But inside my own adapted life, I am always managing my own son's care. Like just last week, he had a 48-hour EEG here in the house. And what they do is they come in and they put the electrodes on and set up the equipment. It's great. I mean, we used to only be able to go to the hospital to have these done. And it was always kind of difficult because you're not in your natural environment. You don't sleep the same. But Daniel is a trooper. Boy, he did really well with it. But I had to sit and stare at him for 2 days, right? Because he has been having weird seizure-like episodes. And sometimes he breaks through the seizure meds and has these like big seizures. And we don't really know what his behaviors are and what they're coming from. So we're doing more testing. He's having an MRI on March 15th of his brain. And this is the first look at his brain deformity that we've had in the many, many years. I mean, I think he hasn't had one in his adult life. So it's a lot. And all of the other issues with the lack of nursing care for all of the hours that we have, which is a fight I'm still dealing with. It's really, really, really frustrating. And it just really stretches us when we now have to take care of not only our son, but also other people. So we're really pulling it at both ends. And I had to cancel my trip in February that I had been planning for a long time to see my daughter, who lives out in Southern California. And that stunk. I mean, I was so upset. And most of it was because we were in crisis. So I did reschedule it, which is good. So next week, I am flying out the day after Daniel's MRI. I'm going to go visit her and stay out there for a week and have some recovery time and recoup time. And we need that every year, at least a couple times a year together, because she lives so far away, but I'm always just like, I hope it flies. I hope I can go. I don't want to lose any more money because, I try to do Airbnb, but you don't always get your money back and it can be a little tricky and all of these things. So my heart was aching. I felt squished and angry and frustrated, but I knew that I was needed here because of crisis. There was just crisis everywhere. So the tilt, that's what I titled myself lately. I'm tilted. And what I mean by that is sometimes I experience this feeling like I'm buzzing along, right? I'm a busy girl. I got all kinds of stuff going on. I'm doing all the things, managing things. It seems like, yeah, I'm good. And I can even get to the podcast and get things rolling and reach out to other people and everything is great. And then all of a sudden something goes like an explosion, right? It's like another crisis from outside of our family falls onto our family. And if my cup is already running over with all of these things that I'm managing, and there's also existing stress going on because of other problems that I'm dealing with, it's not really shocking that something big like having to take care of 2 other people all of a sudden, it tilts me over like a pinball machine, right? Like a tilt, I'm done. And I don't know. I mean, sometimes I feel like people tend to look at caregiver mom, 56 years old. Oh boy, she's a professional, right? She doesn't have a 9-to-5 job. She's flexible. She can do lots of extra things because, she doesn't go to work during the day. And, sometimes she has a nurse for Daniel. So you know what? that you can do it. But that's a total lie. Just so you know, we are not available. We are not flexible and at everyone's discretion because we are working way more than a 9 to 5 job. It just looks different. It's just a very different type of a responsibility, but the perception leads to this expectation that somehow we are just capable to fragment and compartmentalize more things, right? Zillion more tasks on top of a day we already planned and I already had to adapt and I already had to change and rechange and rechange. And now, boom, something else just landed. And yeah, so tilt. I short circuited last week or a couple weeks. This was now 2 weeks ago or so. I mean, yeah, this is how I described it. I'm like, yeah, mom needs to lay down. I had an emotional breakdown. It was like right after I had to cancel my trip. And I just had this like emotional upheaval where I couldn't think. I couldn't do anything. I just lost it. I mean, I just shut down. And I think I was walking around the backyard and then I got a message on my phone and I had forgotten an appointment at Yale. And I just started crying because I was like, I shouldn't have forgotten that appointment. Like, and I have it all together and organized and I work so hard with my calendar. So normally, but there was just so many other things in my brain and I couldn't handle it all. And I just kind of had to stop and either go into survival mode or, like have a breakdown. So I had a temporary malfunction where I just stopped, just sat down. And I couldn't even put Daniel's slipper on that day. I remember I was just like, I can't function. I just had to crash, and then I'm still in my pajamas at 3:00 and my hair's a mess and I'm just tousled and tired and looking kind of like traumatized, right? I've changed 7 diapers, done two physical transfers and I don't even feel like a human being anymore, right? I'm just like blah, and that's really scary. But there's only so much that we can take. There's only so much. Our brains are not going to, and our hearts are not going to push us to the point of malfunctioning completely, right? So sometimes you just have to go into this sort of self-preservation survival mode. And for me, I just sort of shut off for a little while sometimes and just kind of tune out so I can re-energize myself and try to think. And prioritizing becomes life-saving because if I'm overwhelmed and I'm still in my pajamas at 3:00 in the afternoon and I've had a good cry and then 8 cups of coffee, but I'm just like feeling like crap, please don't start giving me more things to do. I can't do more things. Just write them down, talk to me later, let me come back to you. I'm tilted, I'm fried. And sometimes people don't necessarily see that, believe it or not. And so then you got to really learn how to communicate. I can't. But one thing, that I've learned throughout this new crisis, this new adapting in my life, dealing with our people, our family members, is, sometimes it's a chance to slow down again and learn something new, right? And once I rest from this emotional storm and take a look at what is happening, I can think. I don't respond well when other people are stressing at me because I'm not an angry person. I'm an emotional person and I have my own trauma and stuff, so yelling at me and venting at me is not necessarily going to help me think. But what I can do is slow down and think and accept what's going on and face it and stay peaceful. And that usually happens after I go into stillness for a while. That's when I like shut down. Once I kind of get over myself, I need time to think. And resilience for me resilience for me comes when the crap hits the fan, and then I find myself having to sort of reset, right? Just new perspective. Just and sometimes it's not easy to do right away. Like when we're only human, we're going to have explosion. We're going to have our reactions to things. So that's where, for me, like just meditating really helps me to just like try to like just go inward and not let my head and my thoughts give me a stroke. You know what I mean? Like I need to like slow down. Um, and even it's so crazy. I find myself when I do that, when I slow down, I find myself finding something to be grateful for. Even though I don't feel like I want to be grateful for anything, I'm always like, well, I am pretty grateful that this is this, and I am pretty grateful for this is this, and I do really love those people, and I'm happy they're in my life, and then I kind of sort of glide myself back into like a higher functioning level. But change is something that I have had to learn how to dance with. And so even when it tilts me or it throws me off and I feel like I can't do anymore, I'm just done. Um, I actually can do more, but I have to do it the way it works um, for me. So I heard recently, I've been doing so many different types of meditations. Oh my goodness, some really good ones. But I heard in one of my recent guided meditations that the Buddha believed that change is inevitable and that change is actually the only constant thing we have in life. So he taught that we should not resist change, but we should just flow with it. So when we're open to change, we're open to new possibilities. We let go of our attachments and fears so we can live more fully in the present moment. So I've been really working a lot on letting go of my fears, and I think a lot of my anxiety I get when more responsibility lands, just this fear that I'm not going to do the right thing for the right person, like someone's going to get hurt or something's going to get messed up or I'm going to make mistakes. And it's all fear, you know. So letting go of that is what actually helps me to think from a loving heart, and that's when you know that's when the stuff happens, the good stuff. So interestingly, I am doing a course actually right now on Insight Timer, because if you have a premium membership there, you can have courses, and they have free meditations, which are beautiful, but they also have courses for more in-depth learning kind of thing. So I'm doing one right now. It's called Letting Go of Attachments. And isn't this interesting that, considering my tilt response to these new problems with our family members, I suddenly found myself like going inward all of a sudden. Like I knew what to do. It's like I trained myself over the past few years to just go inward and ask my inner consciousness to let new possibilities and ways to think and deal with this expand within my reality. And when I shut off and I contract, I feel miserable. When I accept and let go of fear, I see things as possible. And it is possible to manage both my care of Daniel and that of my in-laws and my dad, along with my husband. So we actually decided to resume some couples therapy just to kind of talk through our challenges. And this is a very healthy thing to do, because no two people have the same coping mechanisms. But when you're two people trying to solve a problem for other people, and you need to be on the same page. And I mean, most relationships have differing ways of doing things. So if you can at least talk about your differences, it makes it more possible to accept each other and understand. Anyway, so what seemed like a heavy load just pushing on us negatively is now us fixing to work together to get things done. And we've been productive and positive, and we're not in crisis mode anymore. We're getting things done. We're making lists and achieving things, managing things, and holding gratitude for each other and for our parents and for the resources that we and they have available to provide the care that they need and we need. And we sort of just rebalanced ourselves back to a healthy level of acceptance of what we can and we can't do. And yeah, new normal. Here we are. We've adapted. Now we are working on taking care of their needs and our needs. And there's a lot to do, but it's good. We're good, you know. And again, all of us, even every member of your family, everyone's on their own journey through life. So when crisis comes and you're suddenly faced with having to care for someone else, it's so important to understand what they want for their life and what their life has looked like. You know what I mean? You might be like, oh, I don't know, why are they staying in their house? And then, you got to understand why. I mean, and respect that. That's their life and their choices. So could we have said, no, can't do it, we're going to just walk away? Well, of course, but choosing not to help our family, nah, that just for us isn't an option because we love them so much. And so we just say, okay, how can I help? What can we do? And after we get out of that shutdown mode, after I get out of that shutdown mode where I'm just like, I'm not healthy today. I am not good. I can't function. I'm not going to help anyone until I shut off and do some self-care and go inward. And, I have to take care of Daniel. And that's literally all I did for a while I was just sort of, I don't know, mentally resting, I guess. So change is always there, guys. It's always on your doorstep. It's part of every day. It's as constant as the passing of time, and each breath that you take, is as constant as that. Letting go and letting life flow, and allows us to like really experience life a little bit more. When you're so stressed out about things, it's hard to remember to tell someone a funny joke. And, I go to see my father-in-law and I give him a hug and a kiss and he goes, ooh, and it's important to realize that by letting things go and letting life flow, you let the joy come in and you create that, So this is kind of been my sort of thought process, is how am I going to handle all this additional responsibility and still have a happy, lovely, wonderful, purposeful life. So it's what I'm learning on my discovery and on my journey and on this road of being a special needs mom and a woman and a wife. And it's definitely a constant challenge and I get tilted a lot, but it's so important to know how to take care of myself. So I think all last year in a lot of my podcast episodes, I was talking little bits and pieces about some of the self-care strategies, and that's something I want to build on because that helps everyone. If I can know how to set a boundary to say, you know what, I'm shutting off now because I know that I can't handle much more today. Or, just, how much you can handle. So you have to say no. And then, when you can come back to it and, when you have to prioritize. And one of the most important things you can do is to really take care of yourself and not let yourself get sick and hurt and let the stress cause physical problems, because that's just going to cause you to fail and you're going to get sick and you're going to have problems that will be worse than ever, because then you won't be able to enjoy life or be able to care for anyone. So at the end of the day, I am grateful for the crap that threw me backwards and off my axis. So thanks, universe, for the challenge that I've had over the past month and a half. I'm okay. I'm good. I'm better than before. So thank you for the lesson and the love and the abundance and the really amazing things that I am learning, the people that I'm meeting, and I meet people everywhere. I talk to everyone. So, in hospitals and in assisted living complexes and during programs and classes and everywhere I go, and I love meeting people because I learn new things and I make friends along the way. And it just always presents this interesting sort of serendipity, like there's always something new that I can add to my life story through the experiences that we go through. And that is my adapted life viewpoint. So in learning how to care for senior family members who have health problems, we figure it out. I'm learning so much more about some new things I could do for Daniel down the road. And I have been spending some time with quite a few people who have Alzheimer's, which I had no exposure to. And it's been a pretty interesting experience. And while it's really sad to see people lose their memories, it's also really sweet. There's so many beautiful things that have been happening. When I go over there and I talk to some of the people where my mother-in-law's staying, it's just been really sweet. And I'm so grateful for these caregivers, like just so grateful, because I'm not worried now like I was before. So being in a sandwich generation thing is actually not so bad. I have to say I shifted my perspective. I can cherish the beauty in the little simple moments, like I do with Daniel. You know what I mean? You just take it one day at a time. And the one thing about Alzheimer's is that, like my mother-in-law, like many of the folks, they still live in the moment, and they're really sweet. And like, you just think, okay, we're just in this moment. Everyone's laughing and joking around, and it's just like, let's just have fun and let go. And so that's what John and I have been doing. Is just really trying to take it one day at a time and to stay in these little moments. But of course, we've got a long list of stuff to do, and we're getting it done. I don't know. It just seems easier now that we kind of peeled off all of that stress and anxiety and yelling at each other and, oh my God, that was too much. What are we going to do? It was like crazy. And now we're okay. And that's probably normal. And that's probably what a lot of people go through. And, you're on this earth and you're part of a community and part of a family, and this is what you do, right? So I wonder out there, friends, I wonder how many other caregivers there are like me. Like, I care for my disabled son and that particular kind of a life situation. I wonder how many also have aging parents or other family members and carry some fear about what's going to happen if things get complicated, and they're responsible for it. So I wonder how they are coping and how you are coping. And I'm here for that, because I'm still learning too. So I'm so open to any suggestions, any help, any guidance, and hopefully we can, develop a mechanism for sharing and communicating that, and creating some more tools for dealing with that kind of thing. So, I don't know. I'm trying. I'm doing the best I can. So, yep, tilt. Yeah. Anybody else get tilted? I'm all that. I'm all that. I'm all there for you. But I'm okay. I don't disappear. So February was a little cuckoo, but like I said, I've rebalanced things, and hopefully I'll get out to California okay next week. I was doing some reading and some poetry, and I'm not gonna read one of my poems this time, because I found a little one that I thought was really sweet, and it's called Rebirth by Alex L. And I discovered Alex L on Insight Timer because she had some programs there, but she also writes and has poetry. I'm not even sure of everything else she does, but she's amazing. So Rebirth, and this is how it goes. There will be moments when you will bloom fully, and I'm sorry. Here we go. Start over. Okay. There will be moments when you will bloom fully and then wilt, only to bloom again. If we can learn anything from flowers, it is that resilience is born even when we feel like we are dying. We're always being reborn again, right? It's like a cycle. So even when you tilt, you're going to come back up again. in blue, right? One of the things I'm really looking forward to in California is the orange poppies. I know. What? So I live in Connecticut, right? I'm on the other side of the country, and it's cold here. It's March, but we're about to have more snow again. But I've always been fascinated ever since my daughter moved to Orange County, and she lives in Orange. And so I'm like, why is everything orange, orange, orange? So the state flower is this orange poppy. And I started looking at pictures of them, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So sometimes on certain years in California, when it's really a rainy year, the California areas that get the rain, they experience this like super bloom, and there's these orange poppies, and it doesn't last that long. I think it's like March through April. It's like fields of these orange flowers, and it makes me think of the Wizard of Oz, running through the poppy fields. And I told my daughter, I'm like, I want to see the orange poppies. She's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, no, Mommy wants to see the poppies. Please, I want to go see the poppies. So we're going to hopefully see some. Anyway, among other things. Yeah, I'm an East Coast girl, but I love flowers. So anyways. So now I just want to say until the next time that it truly has been an honor to be here recording this podcast, because my time is not always at my discretion. I'm a busy girl with caring for everything, but we can figure out how to make the most out of things when it seems like a giant implosion has just like really stolen your sanity, and it really hasn't. You just have to find the tools to develop resilience, and then resilience take 2, resilience part 3, you know what I mean? Like chapter 20, like you're building on it, because there's always something new. But you do develop this strength at staying strong and staying joyful, and that's kind of my journey. So thank you for joining me. I so look forward to bringing more content and more exciting experiences to this community. So until next time, I will see you, and I wish you all the love in the universe, and stay strong.